Good evening. Is it too loud? No? It's fine. Being that we're having a jazz band here tonight and a comedian, the committee asked me to make a siyum on a Masechta, so it'll be a little ruchniistic feeling. The good thing is it was 4 months ago that we started Masechtas Tainis, and Baruch Hashem, we were Messiah, Harvey and I, and Aaron Dobin, who is in Eretz Yisrael now. We just finished it yesterday in the morning. So Harvey and I are making the siyum together, actually. This siyum represents more than just Masechtas Tainis. It represents me having to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning for the last 4 months. So going to sleep at about 1:30, getting up at 5:30 is very difficult. But I knew that Harvey and Aaron and Laser Calderon and Yehuda Greenbaum and Yinon and YIWB were waiting in the shul with a number of other people that came sporadically. And I knew that I had to be there for them. And so I got up, and Baruch Hashem, we have to show for it. It also represents where our shul is heading. It represents building on the foundations, 55 years, beginning with the founders of the shul and the Rabbanim, the first Rabbanim of the shul, many different shiurim through different eras. There are people here tonight that went through many of those eras. And Baruch Hashem, we look around and we see in our shul a lot of different shiurim. I remember when I came here 7 years ago, and Steve Lerner tells me, like, so Rabbi, okay, after Sukkot, you got to start giving us Sunday morning shiur. I said, wow, that's going to be difficult. I didn't really do much during the week in those days. So Sunday morning, okay, we'll give a shiur. And fast forward 7 years later, there are 2 shiurim a day. Every day in the week, there are 2 shiurim happening in our shul. Chumash, Navi, Gemara, Halacha, Hashkafa. We have piped in Rabbi Reisman and Rabbi Fran Thursday night at Motzei Shabbos. There are siyumim being made. It's tremendous for the men, for the women, for the children, and for the teenagers. It's amazing. It's really, I have a special nachas seeing the growth, not only the physical beauty of our shul, the buildings are refurbished, the backyard, they mowed the lawn, I think, the last couple of days. Tremendous, tremendous. I said to Sally, Sally, you know, Sphere is over. I said, Sphere is over, we got to get a haircut to the backyard. Or a machmer. So our shul, Baruch Hashem, has a lot to show for itself. The buildings, the insides, the outsides, and more important, the people. And I want to share with you a feeling I had. I shared it with my wife last week. I learned in the shul before my Shabbos afternoon halacha shiur. I come earlier, I learned with someone, preparing the shiur. And when I came to shul 2 weeks ago, I was struck with a sight that was so overwhelming, and the nachas was incredible. And I'm going to say their names, why not? We'll give the parents some nachas. I walk at the shul, and Benji and Moshe Kurtz are sitting in the middle of the... I'm sorry about that. They were sitting in the shul about where Joe Kohler's sitting. Sorry about that, Joe. Next to Libby and Joe, where they're sitting, right? So about where they're sitting, Moshe and Benji Kurtz with 1 or 2 other friends from their yeshiva, they were sitting together and learning. They weren't just learning. They had sheets and they had svarim and gemaras open. And there was, like what they say is rischa dairaisa. They were fighting and learning. And I overheard one of the twins say to the others, you know, Shmuel Rozovsky says with his finger, with his thumb, like this. And I'm looking back and I'm saying 7 years ago, these twins were admiring my ties. And they were complimenting me. And now I'm admiring their ties. And I'm admiring their scholastic achievement. I'm admiring where they've come. How far and how great they have grown. That they're teenagers that are mentioned. They're menschlich. They're honest. They have derech eretz. And they're becoming special Talmidei Chachamim. And it's not only them, it's others. We are so blessed here in our shul that the children are healthy. They're growing up healthy. It makes no difference the color hat they have. But each one in their own way. Whether they're on the way to Eretz Yisrael, on the way back from Eretz Yisrael, Shana Aleph, Shana Bet, Shana Gimel, girls, boys, we're seeing a transformation in our youth, which is very special. And I would be remiss if I wouldn't mention the Teen Minyan. The Teen Minyan is such an incredible part, a force within our Beis HaKnesses. A dream a few years ago, Hillel and I would sit and see, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And we came up with this idea, and today, 35 boys come weekly. They come to the Teen Minyan. There's even Balabatim that try to sneak into the Teen Minyan. That's how popular it is. And they come and they have the most incredible derech being given over to them. And I want to introduce, if you just raise your hand, Rabbi Yaakov Jaffe, the new Teen Rabbi, together with his Rebbitzin. She earned that title last week as well. You know, I always tell my wife that a Rebbitzin means Rebbe B'tzina, because a kugel is worth like 25 speeches. Remember that. And we have a Teen Minyan. And the Teen Minyan, he gives a Tvar Torah, he gives a story. But more than that, he gives a smile. And he helps the boys get through the week. And he teaches them what it means to be an upright Jew and a healthy component in a beautiful, thriving neighborhood. And this is our goal. Our goal in our shul is to bring up our children to be healthy individuals. Healthy individuals. They shouldn't be running the streets. They should find the shul to be a second home. They should find other balabatim smiling at them. Tremendous. I want to share with you a story that I saw this afternoon, which is so appropriate for our evening tonight. A few years after the Second World War, the Kloisenberger Rebbe, Zecharn Levracha, who had went through the Milchama, he went through the Shoah, he was with his gabbai in a car. They were driving to Montreal. It was a very, very dark, wet evening, sleet, snow began to fall. And they were going in Montreal looking for the Kloisenberger base measures. They opened up a shtibel, a Kloisenberger shtibel, and they were looking for the shtibel. And the gabbai who was supposed to know exactly the directions, he was like the GPS in those days. He couldn't get there. He just didn't know how to get there. So what did he do? He finally says, Rebbe, I got to tell you the truth. I don't know where the shtibel is. I'm not sure where the shtibel is. So the Rebbe says, don't worry. He keeps his cool. He says, don't worry. We'll find someone on the street. We'll ask them. He says, Rebbe, who's on the street now? It's freezing cold. It's dark. It's late. There's no one on the street. He says, don't worry. There'll be someone on the street. We'll ask. They go a little further. They're circling and circling. They see a fellow with his boots and his coat. He's not wearing a hat. He's wearing nothing, bareheaded. The Rebbe says, stop the car. We're going to ask him where the shtibel is. So the Rebbe looks at the Rebbe and goes, Rebbe, he doesn't understand any Yiddish. We're not going to be able to converse with him. Why would he know where the Kloisenberger shtibel is anyway? He says, listen, if you don't stop the car and ask him, I'm going to get out of the car and ask him. So the Gabbai pulls his car up next to this fellow, and they roll down the window, and the Kloisenberger Rebbe, in perfect, impeccable Yiddish, says, Entschuldigs, hast du weißt, wie the Kloisenberger shtibel? And the Gabbai is looking at the Rebbe like, Rebbe, what are you doing? The man froze in his tracks. And the shame on his face was tangible. You could see it. You could feel it. You could touch it. And the Rebbe looks into the man's eyes and he says, come into my car. And this bareheaded fellow he sits down in the Rebbe's car in the back seat next to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe says, Lievus Herzog, how are you? He starts to cry. He says, Rebbe, how'd you know? The Rebbe told him, because if I see someone on a frigid night in Montreal without anything covering their head, it must be that this is an angry Jew. Because no one walks around without a head covering. If you're not having your head covered, it must be that you're a Jew who went through something terrible. And you're angry at God. And that's why you're not wearing anything on your head. And the man starts to cry, but Rebbe, they killed my family. And the Rebbe starts to cry and says, they killed mine too. He says, Rebbe, they destroyed my shul. How could they? The Rebbe says, they destroyed mine too. But Rebbe, how they rounded up the whole family, cousins and grandparents, nieces and nephews, businesses, everything, up in smoke. And the Rebbe says, Ich verstehe. I understand. They did it to me too. And that was the end of the conversation. The man tells him, the Kloisenberger shtibel is 2 blocks to the left, to the right. There you are. Fast forward 20 years. The Rebbe comes back to Montreal for a dinner for the institutions of Kloisenberg, which have since grown. They're beautiful. There's children. The next generation is there. And they come to this beautiful hall for the dinner, and the guest speaker doesn't show up. What do you do when the guest speaker doesn't show up? You do what I do. You just get up and talk. So the Gabbai says, there's no guest speaker. Maybe I should speak. Which is a little strange, but no. So the Gabbai gets up to the podium, and he takes the microphone, and he starts to tell over this Maisa. And he starts to tell over how he stopped, and the Rebbe said, and this and that. Suddenly, from the back of the room, a fellow with a long beard and a Bieber hit and Payas gets up and he says, I'm sorry, he says to the Gabbai, but if you're going to tell over my story, I think I should be the one telling it over. This fellow that stood up in the back of the room was in fact that beer-headed Jew who since grew, and he was chayzer b'tshuva, and he married, and he had children, and he had a beautiful family. And he got up to the podium and he took the microphone and he told over the story. How the moments that he met the Kloisenberger Rebbe, the warmth, the intensity of that first encounter with the Kloisenberger Rebbe, about how he fired him up and he warmed him up. And he was able to understand him. That changed his life forever. We each have an opportunity in life, individually, to be the same Kloisenberger Rebbe. There are so many people walking the streets today, and when you see a Jew that is bareheaded, when you see a Jew that is indifferent to religion, many times, especially in our communities, where they may once have been connected, there are angry people. We don't know what they've gone through. We never know. They've gone through terrible things. We don't have to elaborate. We all know what they are. They're angry. They don't have a head covering. What do they need? They need us to step up to the plate and be the Kloisenberger Rebbe and invite them over for a meal and give them a knip on the cheek and say, you could do it, you're great, you're special, I understand you. Our shul prides itself in doing just that. The reason we have this teen minyan and the reason there are balabatim amongst us tonight, that when I approach them I say, listen, there's a child in the community that's going through a difficult time. Bring him to shul. Keep an eye on him. When he has to run away, let him go to your house for a meal. Our shul prides itself in being there, as we spoke on Shabbos, to heal the hurt. And chas v'shalom not fakeret, to hurt people. We want to heal people. And we'll do anything to heal another Jew. Tonight is not a celebration of just coming together. It's a celebration of accomplishment. It's a celebration of a past year. We look back to the last dinner. Last year we had a one-man band. Today we have a three-man band. Last year we didn't have any comedians. Today we'll have 2 comedians. If I understand correctly, we have a couple of very prestigious police officers that just walked in the back. We all wave. Last year we had no police officers. Today we have 2 police officers. Look at that. If the guy that parked his car illegally can please go outside now. I went over to Heshi Pfeiffer's house a year and a half ago. First moved in, he made an upshen and a chanukas abayis. All his friends came from Borough Park and Williamsburg and I don't know where else. They parked all their equipment on Westbourne Avenue. You could imagine what it looked like. So I went and I said, Heshi, the cops are going to come and they're going to give everybody tickets. He says, Rabbi, come, let me show you something. I go to the backyard, half the crowd was cops. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming tonight. I take it as a personal compliment for our shul, for myself, for my wife. I know I speak on behalf of Joe and Ari that put this together. Unbelievable. We thank you, Joe and Ari, for an amazing, amazing event. We can't do anything here, of course, without Yitzi Hirsch and Fegi Hirsch. We give you thank you not only for this meal. If anybody thinks it tastes like shalosh this, please speak to Yitzi afterwards. We want to thank Isaac Richter and his wife for putting up with all of us here. I think he ran out already. He doesn't want any credit, he ran out. And of course, hey Sally, stay where we are. Breathe. We want to thank Mr. Dr. Tzali Winder, for everything he's doing for our Beis HaKnesses. I'm telling you, it really is amazing. Unbelievable, unbelievable. It's a grace of Yashakayach. And of course, I would be remiss if I wouldn't thank Mr. Hillel Edelman. I'm not sure if he's in the room right now. And I'm looking, I'm scanning the room. There's so many other people I want to thank. If I don't, please forgive me. There are so many that are here that do so much. But is Hillel here? Okay, someone. Sally, Joe. Before we go on, I make my siyum. There are two people here that we really, really want to thank. And they don't know we're going to thank them. But we owe a great debt of gratitude to Mrs. Hilda Buff. I'm not sure. Where's Hilda? Where's Hilda? Hilda, raise her. Oh, there's Hilda. When I walk into the shul at 5:45 in the morning, there's usually only one person that beat me here, and that's Hilda. So thank you for turning the lights on, Hilda. And we have a bouquet of flowers. We brought you a beautiful bouquet of flowers, so you can remember us for at least a couple days. There is one other person in this room that we have to thank. This is a person who puts up with a lot of things, a lot of people coming, people going, people calling. And there's not much credit that comes that person's way. It's usually, could you do this and do that? Did you do this? Did you do that? We finally met the other half of this individual tonight, Baruch Hashem. And we're very proud that the other individual, the other half of this individual came to see that we are normal and sane people over here. You know, I know that your wife comes home probably very, overworked and very wiped out after a whole day spending in the office of Young Israel. But we want to thank Alice, who is the office manager. But without her, we would be, I don't know where we would be actually right now. So I thank you all for coming again, and now I'm going to make my siyum with Harvey. Harvey, come on. This siyum is being made the schus of Ayala Tamar Bas Esther. When we started learning this, it was right when the Glick's daughter, Ayala Tamar Bas Esther, had gone to the hospital with a very severe issue. And we said Tehillim, we all remember on a Wednesday night, it was Taka Wednesday night, right after the Koil, we had a great Tehillim saying, it was a fantastic Kiddush Hashem. The whole community got together, when we really, we broke down some serious doors up in heaven. Around that time is when we started learning Tainus. And I don't know why, but one morning I was saying to the Chaver Ram, I said, we're getting up Ayala Sashachar. It's like Ayala Sashachar. Her name is Ayala Tamar. I said, let's call the Kolel Ayala Sashachar. And it will be a schus for Ayala Tamar Bas Esther. And it just went. It happened, and it was a catchy name, and Baruch Hashem, we continue to learn every morning. So it's tremendous that Mordechai Glick, or Mordechai, our neighbor, we go back many, many years to Miami Beach, Florida. We're good friends from a long time ago. We are making the siyum, the schus of the continued refuah. We're so ecstatic that our neighborhood collectively were zeicha to a nes gadol. There must be something special around there in the family and the neighborhood for such an amazing miracle. And we're going to make the siyum now, and her schus, she could continue to grow, ichayel al chayel, and become just completely healthy. Emir Tzashem B'karov. So the end of the Gemara over here says that Omar Rabbi Lazar Asar HaKadosh Baruch Hu La'asas Machal HaTzadikim, Hashem will make a circle for the tzadikim. For Yeshiv B'neihem B'Gan Eden, Hashem, the Shechina will be in the middle. V'chol echad v'echad Ma'ar B'etzvoi, and everybody will point to the Shechina with his finger. Shenemar V'Omar B'Yom Hu Hinei Elokeinu Zeh. Behold, this is our God. Kivinu Loi V'Yashenu. We yearn for Him. He will give us our salvation. Zeh Hashem. This is God. Kivinu Loi. We search and we yearn for Him. Nagilah V'Nischa B'Shozai. We will rejoice in that which He will save us. Hajalach Masechtas Tainus Hajalach Alon Data Alach Masechtas Tainus Daich Alon Loy Nishem Minach Masechtas Tainus Loy Sishne Minon Loy Ba'am Deim Loy Ba'am Dasi Hajalach Masechtas Tainus Hajach Alon Daiton Alach Masechtas Tainus Daich Alon Loy Nishem Minach Masechtas Tainus Loy Sishne Minon Loy Ba'am Deim Loy Ba'am Dasi Hajalach Masechtas Tainus Hajalach Alon Daiton Alach Masechtas Tainus Daich Alon Loy Nishem Minach Masechtas Tainus Loy Sishne Minon Loy ba'alma adein loy ba'alma dasi. Here's something echad inu leinu v'lebeseinu shedei dorasim noseinu ba'ilom hazeh. Uzheu manu lama ba. Chanina bar papa, Ram bar papa, Nach bar papa, Achai bar papa, Abba Mor bar papa, Rach bar papa, Rach bar papa, Shucha bar papa, Ad bar papa, Dor bar papa. Harav na inu leinu zivazos chabavinu. Ufi asam chabeis v'nyan nachnu. Kulanu v'tzaytzayinu v'tzaytzayinu v'tzaytzayim chabeis v'kulanu yodei shemecha v'loim der tzaytzach l'shmam v'oivet techakmein mitzvah. Ki lo'olam hi li b'samim v'chokach l'man lo'yeva ish lo'olam lo'yashak v'gdacha kivam chisani baruch atah adonai l'amdenu chokacha. Amen, 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 sal v'ed. Moedim anachnu l'ofanecha adonai Eloheinu v'vseinu. Shesamtu l'cholkein v'yoshiv beis ha'medjev v'lo samtu l'cholkein v'yoshiv karnois she'anu mashkim v'heim mashkimim. Anu mashkim v'divrei soyer v'heim mashkim v'davar metelim. Anu amelim v'heim amelim. Anu amelim v'kam v'sachar v'heim amelim v'kam v'sachar. Anu ratzim v'heim ratzim, anu ratzim v'chayol v'abba. V'heim ratzim v'shachar sh'nemar v'ata Elohim z'aridem v'shachas anshe dom mirma v'yachzu yimei v'ani eftach bach. Here is some v'necha adonai Elohai. K'shem sh'adatan v'tzayim v'sachas tainis. Kein tazrin v'hasel v'sachas v'svar ma'achem v'saimam. L'umud l'am v'lishmer l'asas l'kam v'skol d'vei samto v'sachar v'yahava. U'schus kol adonai v'amoram v'samidich cham v'yama v'yilazari. Sh'lo yiztomu sh'atoy v'pi zar v'zer zar ad olam. This is kind B. V'salecha tancha oisach. V'shachcha tishmar lacha. V'akisaysa hisis sichacha. Kivi yirbu yamecha v'yosivu l'chashnais chaim. Oyer chnom v'yimino v'smoila oish v'chaved adonai l'am v'yitin adonai v'arach azam v'shalom. Yiskadav yiskadash mirabba. V'yomad divu asu l'schad asu l'chayom l'sayla l'sakla asu in l'chayomba. U'l'miv nekardin l'yushalem l'shchalam l'avehechom v'gava. U'mekar balchan u'chra min ara. U'lasava balchana d'ishmai l'asrei v'yam l'chut shabrichu v'malchus v'karei v'chayechoynu v'yoyim v'chayim 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 v'Yisrael b'agalav v'sman karev v'romein Yehesh mi'abba m'varach l'olam l'me'el ma'yal yisparach v'yishtabach v'yismar v'yismar v'yisnasei Yisadar v'yisalav v'yisalav shmei t'gut shabrichu Le'ela m'kab v'chasav v'shosav v'shosav v'nechem osad d'amiram v'amav v'romein Al Yisrael v'arabban v'al Talmud Yoyin v'al Kol Talmud Yoyin V'al Kol Man da'asken b'ra'isa di ba'asradei v'di b'chol asar v'asar Yehela hayin l'chan shtamar rabba chinu b'chisav rachim l'chaim richein U'mezayne reviche v'verkanim v'nikadam v'rundu v'shmaya v'arav v'romein Yesh lam ram v'shmaya v'chaim tav v'aleinu v'alka Yisrael v'romein Yaseh shalom r'amav Yaseh shalom aleinu v'alka Yisrael v'romein. Before everybody should sit down and enjoy the rest of the meal, the program will continue in a minute. I just want to welcome, Baruch Hashem, over the last couple of months, a lot of young couples have moved into our community, and we're very, very proud that they have joined our shul in many different capacities. So we first, of course, as we mentioned, we have Rabbi and Mrs. Yaakov Jaffe, who's our team minion. We have a young couple who moved in here. I realized that her grandfather actually is a student of my grandfather, and I know him very well. He's not one of the comedians tonight, by the way. Very funny fellow, great guy, but he's not going to be here tonight for us. And Yitzi and Tali Weider have moved in, so we welcome them right here. Raise your hand just to... Of course, we have natives of Bayswater. We have Gabby and Tzvi Schwartz. Everyone knows Gabby Vanderveld, who's married to Tzvi Schwartz, and we're ecstatic you're part of us now, Baruch Hashem. Menachem Goldenberg and his wife, Leora, are here. They've been with us for a while. They just joined us this week. And we have a brand new couple that just moved in on Sunday. So I said to them, you know something, we have a minhag in our community that when you move in, we make a dinner for you. So the dinner is really in honor of Vihud and Fega Himmel. His wife wasn't able to make it tonight, but also in the hallway, we have another young fellow, a lawyer that just actually is, just became a lawyer. We're going to, he's not going to do this, but his name is Mr. Eli Shulman. Him and his wife Andrea have just become members of our shul this week, along with a number of friends. I think Rabbi Ezra Pacht has become a friend of our shul for another year, so we thank you. And I think there's a couple of yeshiva guys from Zichron Aryeh. We're very proud of the yeshiva in our community, and many of them are becoming friends of our shul, so we welcome them on board. Enjoy the rest of your evening.